Hi, I'm Shannon Gavin Johnson, the Director of Legacy Museum on Main, and this is a brief moment in LaGrange's history. When LaGrange was first incorporated in 1828, the land was undeveloped. The first structures were hewn log buildings, and the streets were cut with wagon ruts. It took the citizens a few decades to make LaGrange attractive, which makes the gardens of Sarah Ferrell all the more amazing. Sarah Ferrell was born in Jones County in 1817 to Mickleberry and Nancy Coleman Ferrell. In 1835, Sarah's father purchased land on Vernon Road where he built a home, and Sarah's mother began a small formal garden. It was during this time in their new town of LaGrange that Sarah became acquainted with her cousin, Blunt Ferrell. She and Blunt were married that same year. In 1841, Sarah and Blunt moved onto a parcel of land near her parents' home. Sarah expanded her mother's garden, and as the scope and scale of her design evolved, they named their estate the Terraces. The original vision required enslaved laborers and gardeners to painstakingly created Mrs. Ferrell's ideas, brick by brick and seed by seed. By the 19th century, exotic plants were available for wealthy horticulturalists, and Sarah implemented them liberally. A local newspaper detailed her rare plants in 1888, saying the terraces contained such specimens as calla lily, nun's orchids, caladiums, Japanese cedar and plum, and a tree that the paper referred to as the wonder of California that might have been a species of sequoia. While her aesthetic was based on gardens of Renaissance Italy, her designs were also indicative of her deep faith. Some were obvious, like the boxwoods carefully pruned to spell out God in one portion of the garden and God is love in another. Other designs were less noticeable, such as planting groups found in scriptures and a garden room representing a church sanctuary. Mrs. Ferrell cared for the gardens until her death in 1903. The property suffered from neglect until 1911 when Fuller E. Calloway purchased it at auction. Calloway hired Neil Reed to design a home that would combine the style of Mrs. Ferrell's Italian Renaissance gardens with Southern tradition. Reed called the home Georgia Italian. In 1916, after 2 years of construction, Mr. Calloway and his wife Ida Kaysen Calloway moved into the home they called Hills and Dales. In the same loving fashion as Sarah, Ida oversaw the garden until her death in 1936. The property then passed on to Fuller Calloway Jr. and his wife Alice Hand Calloway, who also nurtured the gardens until she died in 1998. In 2004, the estate opened to the public. To learn more about Hills and Dales Estate and Ferrell Gardens, visit Hills and Dales. This has been a brief moment in LaGrange's history.